Hey folks, Roland Martin here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's a special day because today's summertime. It's almost July, it's the middle of the summer, and it's topwater time. Now, you know, in the summertime, people say, well, you know, Florida is so hot and it's so miserable because, you know, we can't catch fish. No, summertime in Florida is a wonderful time. We're in perfect condition. I just want to tell you why it's so perfect right now. It's cloudy. It's in the 70s. It's beautiful, calm water. No wind to speak of. Low light conditions and clear water. The water temperature is about 80 degrees. So it's just everything you want in a topwater day. Okay, let's talk about a topwater day. Let's talk about a day like yesterday. There is Dennis Dickerson. There's my buddy Dennis Dickerson. He just caught his personal best. He said, Roland, I haven't ever caught a bass over 7.5 pounds. And yesterday, about 11 o'clock, he threw this very plug right here, this one right here on a spinning rod, and I'll show you a little bit about that. This is a devil's horse. And he said he did this right here. I'm just going to show you the combination of what we did. I'm going to go through a lot of topwater plugs today. But here's what Dennis did on that nearly 8-pound bass that he caught yesterday. He made a nice cast to the edge of some hydrilla. This happened to be lily pads here, but he was, you know, in a hydrilla area. He let it sit until all the ripples died away, okay? And then just a little bitty twitch like that. So you see how the plug's just barely moving, just barely twitching. Now, it's hot weather, the plug's going real slow. You'd think the bass would explode on it. No. Sometimes these big ones, they sometimes just suck it in when it's going slow like that. Okay, that's the first thing. We caught a couple 5-pound fish, and then the day before that, we caught a bunch of 5- and 6-pound fish on topwater again. Those guys were from Massachusetts, and they just did fantastic. Okay, now that's a spinning rod. Let me just explain. A lot of you enthusiasts are spinning tackle oriented, and that's fine. But there's a couple little things I like to tell you about spinning. Okay, this is braid on the spinning rod. That's one thing. But the other thing that makes it work is that I have a leader. I have a monofilament leader, 20-pound test leader, tied to that braid. And the reason is, by having that heavy leader, it kind of keeps the line straight out in front of those propellers. You notice it's not twisting around the front of the propeller very much. Okay, that's one thing. Now, let me just show you another combination, and that is my combination of a casting rod. And here's another similar plug. It's another devil's horse type of topwater. I'm going to go over all the different type of topwaters that I recommend right now. This is like a devil's horse. It's a 2-hook model. It's a handmade balsa model. And what I have on this one is a 20-pound monofilament. Now, really, I like monofilament for a lot of reasons. Number one, it doesn't sink like fluorocarbon. Number two, it stretches a little bit and kind of holds the fish, you know, into the position. And number three, it casts really good. Look at the way it casts. It casts really well. Okay, I'll throw it way out there. Again, I'll let the ripples die out and just kind of get out 8 or 10 feet. Little bitty twitches like that. Little bitty twitches. Oh, I had one. He hit it. I mean, he missed it. He hit it. I had a strike. Wasn't very big. Okay. So I'm not trying to catch fish today. I'm just wanting to show you how to catch fish today. It's not my intention to go out there and catch a bunch of big bass. I've been doing that every day, and I can catch bass again today. But today, I want to show you the lure complements that I recommend for hot summertime fishing. Whether it's Florida, whether it's Connecticut, whether it's California, these are universal topwater lures. Okay, that's the first choice. I love a devil's horse, and a devil's horse is a target lure. Now, let's talk about a target lure. Let's talk about an open water lure. Let's talk about a weed cover lure. 3 basic types of topwater. Ones that you can throw accurately to the edge of the shoreline. Okay, another accurate ambush point type of lure is a popper. You see me go down to the Everglades at the A1 place, taking that popper right there and catching bass after bass after bass on YouTube films. Okay, that's the new Spro. I forgot what it's called. It's the Spro Popper. I think it's the Spro 80. But anyway, with this one, again, it's a target lure. I'm throwing it to the edge of the cover. That wasn't a very good cast. I'm throwing it to the edge of the cover and just letting it sit there. Again, let the ripples die away, letting the ripples die away. Kind of twitching it, you can kind of plunk it. You can plunk it, you can plunk it. And if you remember seeing my video down the Everglades, I was catching fish almost every cast on this Pop 80 by Spro. Anyway, it's a new lure. It's again a target lure that you're throwing to the edges of stuff. Okay, that's a second choice that's just as really good. So whether you like a popper type of plug or a devil's horse with the spinners on it, I like them both. I probably like the devil's horse better. I've probably caught more good fish on a devil's horse type of lure that I'm throwing to a target. Okay, now we're talking about targets. What about open water? What about just these big expanses of water like here? Now there's hydrilla under the water. So let's talk about covering the water. Let's talk about, say, a walking bait. You know, you talk about the devil's horse, and that's fine, and the poppers are fine. This is the Zara Spook walking type of lure. Now watch how I walk it. That's really important because you can make a long cast. I'm gonna make a short cast and show you how I walk it. Make a little short cast. Now watch the plug. Back, forth, back. Look at the way it walks. Look at the way it goes back and forth. That's a walking action. You can walk it really, really good. You can almost walk it in one spot. Almost walk it in one spot. But what I'll do is you can cover a lot of water. Now here's when I'm actually fishing the lure, I'm going to throw it out on wide open places like this. A long cast, look at this, way, way out there. Now I can walk it back. Walk it back. See how it's walking back? Now, basically I'm going to keep walking. Sometimes you'll see a little bulge behind it, and sometimes you'll see a little swirl or something. And at that point, I'll stop it. Okay? Nothing's hit it. Okay, maybe just a little twitch if nothing's hit it. I do a lot of walking with it. Okay? Again, I'm throwing this out over shallow points, shallow reefs, shallow weed beds. I'm working it in some kind of clear situation, say even schooling fish out in the middle of a lake, in a Tennessee River lake where they might be schooling way out in the river. Okay, so that's the walking bait. Let's talk about another open water lure. Let's talk about the ultimate in open water lures. The ultimate in open water lures. Let's talk about a Whopper Flopper. Now, I know you've heard about the Whopper Flopper. Let me just show you one, and I'll explain what the Whopper Flopper does. The Whopper Flopper is the best lure for catching really big fish in open water. You can cover so much water, you can throw it so far, and you can cover so much water because it's a fast lure. Now again, I'm going to take a wide open expanse like this, and where the Whopper Flopper comes in, it's not a target lure. You know, you don't want to throw a Whopper Flopper to the edge of the pads like that. That's not what it's designed to do. I can throw it to the edge of the pads, but that's not the deal on the Whopper Flopper. The deal on the Whopper Flopper is this. I can throw it a long ways. Watch this. Look at that. I'm throwing it to the next county. It's over 100 feet away. I got heavy braid, 65-pound line. Watch it come along. And when it gets close to the boat, you'll hear it. I'm covering a lot of water. It's going fast now. So I can throw it down that lane. I can throw down that lane. I can throw down that lane. Now, here's the deal with these big Whopper Floppers. You probably only get a strike like every hour. You're not going to get a lot of fish on a Whopper Flopper. Listen, listen. Listen. That drives them crazy. Next cast, I'll throw way down this lane. Just way down that way, way down there. Watch this. Watch this. Walk it back. Okay, now, again, this is not a lot of fish on this lure. Again, I might throw it all day long and only get 6 strikes. Probably 3 of them might be over 5 pounds. That's the kind of fish that you catch on a Whopper Flopper. You catch great big ones on this great big Whopper Flopper. Now that's, if you know, a lot of people say, well, I want to catch a lot of fish and I just want to catch a lot of fish. Hey, if you want to catch a lot of fish, throw that little popper. If you want to catch a lot of fish, throw some kind of worm. If you want to catch a great big bass and you want to spend some time doing it, hey, get the cloudy day, clear water, over some weeds covered like here in South Florida, and you'll catch some big fish in the summertime on a Whopper Flopper. But you have to spend a lot of time doing it. Now, with all these lures, I still haven't covered them all. with all these lures, let's talk about a really, really important thing. Let's talk about the backup. What are you talking about? Backup. Here's the backup. Always I have a backup. Whenever I'm fishing topwater plugs, actually whenever I'm fishing about any kind of plugs, I got the backup. And what a backup is basically a 5-inch Senko. That happens to be the 208 watermelon red. That's a watermelon red flake. And I have an 1/8 of an ounce weight, just kind of pegged. And I'll throw the topwater plug out there. I'll get that swirl, I'll get that strike, I'll get that miss. And here's the deal, the backup. I got the rod right here. Okay, I'm throwing topwater and there's my backup sitting in the front of the boat right there. It's just ready to go. All of a sudden I get the swirl, I pick up the rod. Hey, listen now. I throw past where it boiled. I throw 3 feet past it. Okay, it's 3 feet past the thing. Hold my rod high. I'm watching my line. I'm feeling my line. Pull it a couple feet into that strike zone where he just was. He usually takes it right away. But here's the important thing about a backup. You have to be there within like 5 seconds or 10 seconds. You can't wait a whole minute and go get the rod out of the rod box and put a worm on the hook and all that. He swim away and he won't catch him. You got to have it ready to go in just a few seconds. Throw it into that spot and it hit almost every time. Now Dennis, yesterday, my partner Dennis Dickerson, 4 or 5 times I said, Dennis, have your backup ready. And 4 or 5 times I'd get a bass to come up on my devil's horse and make a swirl, about ready to get it. I'd jerk the plug away from there just so he could catch it. And sure enough, he would. Sometimes he'd throw that worm in there, bam, he caught like 10 that way. We caught a lot of bass yesterday. But the backup was really, really important. That was really, really a big part of it. Okay, we're talking about open water lures. We're talking about the Whopper Flopper being a big deal. What's another good open water lure? Let me just show you one. Is a buzzbait. What do you think about a buzzbait? Well, a buzzbait's a topwater lure. Now here's a special kind of buzzbait. This is a real big one, and it's a double buzz by Booyah. It's got I modified it every kind of way and put the double big blade on it, and I put a trailer hook on it too. And just to tell you how good it is, let's just show you the biggest bass I've caught this year. I caught this last week with Pat Kelly. He runs the Fellsmere Outdoor Adventures tackle shop. And that's a 10-pound, 8-ounce bass I caught on this buzzbait. Well, it's one just like it. One just like that. There's a buzzbait right here. Okay, I only got a couple strikes that evening. I didn't get a lot of fish. And it was late in the evening, and we caught that big fish. I was with Kenny Haas, one of the guides that worked for Pat, and Pat Kelly out of the Fellsmere Outdoor Adventures tackle shop. Okay, what I was doing was this right here. I was taking the buzzbait, making a long cast. It's that big heavy rod flipping stick. Hold it up on top like this. Look at that thing. I'm just buzzing it along. Again, this is the kind of lure like the Whopper Flopper. You're only going to get a few fish. You're not going to get just 100 fish doing this. Listen. Makes a good noise. Okay, and again, I'll fire it up these edges. It's pretty weedless, so you can throw it over top of like lily pads, and you can come across a lot of stuff. Now, one thing that I always do on all these topwater lures, and that is when I look at vegetation and I look at hydrilla patches and I look at lily pad patches, and I look at any kind of cover like this, I look for points. Points are probably the key to so much of my bass fishing. Everywhere I look for where's a point. And the other thing about the point is think about this. Is there any kind of breeze? Is there a slight breeze blowing? Because if there's a slight breeze blowing, there's a slight water movement, okay, usually with the wind. Okay, in this case, there's a breeze coming. So that would mean that breeze might hit that might be a good point over there. Anyway, I'll try up and down these places. I'm just gonna kind of move along for a second because I got a couple more lures to talk about, and I can do it really well by talking. Took my power pole up. I'm just gonna come along and I'm gonna adjust my trolling motor. Here's the other thing about topwater fishing. Gotta be quiet. I'm gonna take the trolling motor and I'm gonna drop it down to about a 3, really kind of a low speed. Quiet power catches fish, okay? I'm gonna go along. I'm not shaking the boat. I'm going to throw that. In this case, I'm going to throw whatever lure I'm wanting to throw. I'm going to throw it close. Now, sometimes the bass just they're not real active. And they're not going to chase a big noisy buzzbait like this. But sometime during the day, they might get active. They might get hungry. You might see them jump. You might see them chasing a shad. You might see some activity. And when there's activity around, that's kind of the time I'll pick up a buzzbait or a Whopper Flopper, because that's the fish are active at that point. Okay. Now here in Florida, like so many places, there's tons of cover. So the third type of topwater plug that I want to talk about are lures that we can throw into this heavy cover like this. There are lily pads, there's patches of hydrilla, there's any kind of a number of cover situations. It could be bushes, it could be logs, it could be something or other. Okay, what are we gonna fish with? Well, a frog combination is kind of the deal. Now here's a frog that I kind of like to work with. I like Spro Frogs, but this also I do a Buzz Frog. Look at this Buzz Frog. I'll throw the Buzz Frog way up and stuff, and I'll come across really thick stuff, okay? Come right across the lily pads. Look at that. Comes right through there. Now, I'm running 65-pound braid. I got a big heavy-duty flipping stick, and when they hit that thing, I'm gonna have the rod in my side, ready to set the hook, and I'm going to kind of give it to them for just a second, just kind of let them hit it and just kind of go forward on them, make sure they got it good, and then I'm going to bust them hard with that heavy braid, try to get them out of that cover. Again, these kind of buzz frogs and just frogs in general, you know, have some exciting side-end action. I don't think there's anything more exciting than to watch a big fish come out of those lily pads, or it could be a patch of hydrilla, it could be a patch of any kind of weeds or grass or logs, and have them hit like that. Okay, make plenty of casts, and there's plenty of places to throw. Now, again, you need that backup, because so often these fish will miss it. I mean, they're coming through that heavy grass. You'll have a lot of strikes that just don't get the lure. That's why I have that backup worm. You saw it. I have the backup worm all ready to throw. Okay, come to this point now. That's really getting good now. We're getting to a point we can really concentrate on the point with this buzz frog. Now, that's just one kind of frog. Let's talk about frogs. Let's talk about the #1 frog that I know of, and that's the best frog there ever was, and that's the Spro Frog. This is the Popper model, and it's a Dean Rojas creation, and that's the Pro. It's a Pro Frog. It's really a good frog. It's a great big hook combination. It's just a perfect frog. Again, I have it tied with 65-pound test line. Now, all the big guys like Ish Monroe and myself and Dean Rojas that actually created the frog, we all fish 65-pound braid. I'm telling you why. A 2-pound bass can get wrapped up in those lily pads. Unless you can rip them out, you're not going to get the fish. He's going to be all hung up and you're going to lose him. You got to rip the fish out and break the pads in the process and get them out of there. Okay, again, I throw the frog out there. Let it sit a few seconds, get the rod into my side, get ready to do battle. Come right through those pads. Well, sometimes they get hung, you get hung. Just keep going with it. You get hung, that's all right. Just pull it loose, it comes up. Now, it's about full of water because I pulled it a couple times. It's not floating good. Watch this. You just take the frog and squeeze it. All the water comes out, okay? It's still a good frog. It just fills up with water sometimes. Throw it back in these places. Now, there's another kind of frog that I've been experimenting with. It's a kind of a soft plastic frog. I don't like it in this real heavy cover. For the real heavy cover, this Spro Frog is the best thing. But for kind of hydrilla kind of cover and some of the other covers, there's another frog that I want to show you real quick. Here's the last kind of frog. It's kind of a plastic frog, and there's any number of different variations. This happens to be a Z-Man deal. It's a soft plastic one, and Yamamoto makes their Yama frog, and every different people make soft plastic frogs. The Ribbit is a frog that's a plastic frog. So there's any combination of plastic frogs that you can throw. But for the real heavy lilies like that, you're going to need a Spro Frog. Anyway, I think I've covered all the different bases of topwater fishing. And let's face it, topwater fishing is the most exciting fishing you could ever have. That visual action. And the other thing that I just have to tell you about, the size of the bass that I'm catching on topwater in the summertime far exceeds any other lure I'm using, except maybe some flipping and pitching techniques. That's another whole ball game, and we'll cover that as well. So pitching and flipping in the real heavy cover will also produce big fish. But the topwater bite, day in and day out, produce as many big fish as anything that you could ever do. But you have to have the right conditions, and that is, again, clear water, warm water, calm water, and a little wind. You know, you don't want a lot of wind. So anyway, those conditions are good. Low light conditions where it's overcast, early in the morning, late in the evening. That's just some of the things, but I love my topwater fishing. I catch the biggest bass of the year on topwater, and I think you can too. Hey, thanks for watching my YouTube. Thanks for subscribing. I'm just so excited. Hey, we'll see you again soon, and hit that likes button. We'll see you again.